welcome to this Facebook Live all about how to stop nagging your child about revision and homework. So my name is Lucy Parsons and I run this page, Life More Extraordinary with Lucy Parsons. And my work is basically that I help students to get the top grades in their exams and into their first choice of university. So I was a straight A student at school, but I had to work very hard for that, and I had to work out how to make it happen because my school didn't teach me that stuff. So I have made a career out of teaching other people how to do it, because schools still don't, on the whole, teach their students how to study, so that I can help students really reach their full potential and achieve their dreams. So one thing I hear from the parents that I work with an awful lot, and particularly the parents in my Facebook group, the Supportive Parents Successful Students community, is that they just end up nagging their children, and this drives them mad because they don't like nagging their children, and they worry that it damages their relationship with their children, and it's just, you know, a horrible situation to be in. So if you're watching live, I'd love to know, why do you think you are nagging your children? Anybody here can tell me why they think they're nagging their children? Hello, Rose. Hello, Carolyn. It's great to see you. So, Carolyn, I know that you're a parent. Why are you nagging your children? And Rose, you're a student. Do you ever get nagged by your parents? And why do you think they're doing it? Okay, I'm not getting anything back at the moment, so I'll continue looking at the comments and see whether anything comes up. But I think the big reason why parents nag their children is because they genuinely care about the exam results that their children are going to get. And are unhelpful or even destructive towards reaching their full potential in their exams. And so it's a real problem because parents really want to see their children doing well, but their children just get turned off by the nagging, and it just doesn't really work. So, and yeah, it's because you care about them, and it's because your child isn't doing what you think they should be doing. And I think all this comes back to a more fundamental problem, which I'm just looking. Rose, you don't get nagged. That's fantastic. Carolyn says it's concerned that he does his own best to open doors for a successful life. Yeah, exactly. And you just want to see your child doing well, Carolyn, don't you? You just want to see that they have all their options open, that nothing gets closed off to them at the age of 16 or 18 if they're in the sixth form, and that, you know, everything's on a plate for them for the rest of their life. And that is because you love them and that you care about them. So yeah, we've talked about how you care about your child and they're not doing what you think they ought to be doing. And I think this really comes back to something more fundamental, which is that probably as a household, and I'm not saying this is definitely the case, but probably you haven't laid out your expectations, you haven't created the right routines, and you haven't set the correct boundaries. And therefore, your child isn't conforming with what you think they should be doing, but they aren't entirely clear on what that should be. So the important thing here then is to think about how you can clearly communicate how you can clearly communicate to your child what your expectations are and why you think that those expectations are worthwhile and why they should be followed. So a lot of the parents I work with have really struggled with setting boundaries. So for example, around things like using Snapchat and watching Netflix and that kind of thing. And they want their children to be happy and they want to have a good relationship with their child. So they kind of give their child all this freedom and they find it very difficult to say no to them. And I can remember one family in particular last year that I worked with when I ran my study skills course. And the mum just couldn't bring herself to say no or put boundaries around this kind of behaviour. And actually this year, I know she's ended up sending two of her children to boarding school, and she says, she sent me an email saying it's wonderful because there's no Netflix, there's none of this, there's none of that. So she's actually had to resort to somebody else to put those boundaries in place because she just didn't feel strong enough to implement them herself. And what I will say, it is really difficult if you're trying to implement these boundaries, like all of a sudden at a later stage. That basically the younger you start, the better. So the way you set up these expectations, routines, and boundaries is to firstly work out what work needs to be done. So what needs to be done for your child to reach their full potential. And I've got a blog post which is called The Weekly Routine of a Straight A Student, which sets out some of those expectations just in terms of the amount of work a child should be doing. So I strongly recommend that you check that out, and I'll put that in the comments later on so that you can refer to it. But really set out those expectations so that your child knows exactly what they should be doing and when. But then also set out the rewards. So I did a webinar last Thursday, and it was called A Day in the Life of a Successful Student. And we basically talked about the routine through the day, and we talked about after school routines as part of that. And I said things should come in an order of priority. And this isn't just for academic achievement, but it is for health and well-being as well. So when your child gets home from school, give them a bit of transition time, give them, time to settle in, have a snack and a drink, and just kind of decompress a bit from their day at school, because a day at school is really fast paced, it's quite hard work, and they will need that time to just kind of, go like that. And then once they've done that, there should be a very clear expectation that they then get on with their homework. So transition time, anything between 30 and 45 minutes, I think is reasonable. Anything beyond that, I think is unreasonable, and they're kind of pushing their luck, basically. So after that, they get on with their homework. And when homework is done, homework should always be the priority. Then move on to any revision that there is time left for. And then after that, that is for relaxation. And there are two reasons for this, that you put relaxation last. Firstly, it's to motivate your child to get the work done. So basically, they get rewarded with the relaxation time and whatever it is that they want to do within that time once they've got the work done. And secondly, they need that wind down time before they go to sleep, if they're going to calm their brains down so that they haven't got lots of thoughts and learning and stuff buzzing around their brains when they're actually trying to go to sleep. And a really good night's sleep is really, really important for successful learning. It's important to be able to concentrate on learning new things, but it's also important to consolidate that learning and create those neural connections in your brain. So, as a parent, it is your responsibility to start setting your expectations of what needs to be done. And you will get some pushback if this has not been how you've done things up until now. And you are going to have to be strong while you get this stuff into place. But I promise you that when it turns into a habit and a routine for your child, and that they know that you are going to stick to your guns and you're not going to give in, then they will just start to fit in with it, because your expectations are very clear. And that's something that I learned as a parent. If you're not as a parent, as a teacher, if you're very wishy-washy about your expectations or what you want to be done, then nothing will get done. But if you're very, very clear, so if your child says, can I watch Netflix now? And you say no, not maybe, they're going to respond much more positively to the clear answer than to the wishy-washy answer. So that's really, really important. So where have we got to? So you need to set your expectations, routines, and boundaries. And what I suggest you do is that you sit down and have a proper conversation with your child and really communicate about this, rather than just suddenly imposing it and saying, this is how it's going to be done from now on. This is what I say. That may be your intention, but it needs to come across as a little bit more collaborative than that. And then once that's done, make clear what the rewards are for sticking to this routine. So I'm not trying to deprive you of your time on Snapchat or your Xbox or Netflix or whatever it is that they want to do, but I am trying to, this is your reward. I don't go to work in the morning after having watched 3 hours of Netflix. I leave that kind of enjoyment until the end of the day to reward myself for a job well done. And your child should be doing the same thing. And then while it's embedding, you're going to have to stay strong and be really, really, really clear about what your expectations are. So I'm going to ask you a question, and while I'm giving you time to type your answers in, I'm going to scroll back and see if there are any questions or anything in the comments. But the question is, do you think it's going to be possible to implement this in your child's routine? And how much pushback do you think you're going to get? So is it going to be easy or is it going to be hard? So you could just write easy or hard. And do you think you're going to get a lot of pushback or no pushback at all? So while you're typing answers, I'll just scroll back and have a look and see if there are any comments. So Rose is saying, that's true. Whenever I couldn't motivate myself last year, I'd write a list and then set a reward, and it really does help. It does totally help, doesn't it, Rose? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, I'm not getting anything back here, but that's absolutely fine. So just have a think about it and think about what you actually need to put in place as parents to put the rewards in place to make this happen. And these short-term motivations are really important. Now, I know this is going to be hard to start with. It's not easy, particularly when you're changing your ways after many years or months of perhaps not being quite so structured. And that's one of the reasons why I set up the Extraordinaries Club, which is my online club for families to help them through the exam years. So it helps students with the study skills, habits and mindset to reach their full academic potential, and it helps parents with the communication and support skills that they need to successfully help their children through this period of time. So if you're thinking that you are really going to struggle with all this kind of thing, and you're going to struggle to get your child on board with this kind of thing, you're going to struggle to be strong enough to keep it going and all that kind of stuff, then I really would encourage you to consider joining the Extraordinaries Club, because I will be there to support you and your child all the way. And we have a forum within the club. It's an on-site forum where you can ask questions and get the support that you need. There are private sections for both parents and students. So if you've got something that you want to say or vent about your child without them seeing it, you can put that in the parents only section of the forum. And then we also have weekly coaching calls, and in alternate weeks they're for just parents and just students. So you can come along to the just parents coaching call and talk about the problems that you're having, and me and the other parents can really help you to put in place the things that you need to put in place, and just give you that kind of support and accountability and motivation to just keep going, because it can be really, really tough when you're working, you've got a full-time job, and your teenager's not doing what you want them to do and all that kind of thing. It's really hard to stay strong. So that's partly why the club is there, to give you that moral support to make this stuff happen in the very best interests of your child. So I've put the link to the Extraordinaries Club next to the video, so please go and take a look at that. The price of the Extraordinaries Club actually goes up on Friday this week at 9 p.m. So this is launch week when I am doing this video, and so if you do want to join, I really encourage you to have a look at that video, no, sorry, not at that video, at the information before Friday, so that you can make a decision and possibly save yourself some money. So just to finish off, I can see, I think somebody else has joined, so please do say hello. And if anybody's got any questions about any of the things that I've been talking about today, please pop them in the comments and I'll be very happy to answer them live if you get them in before I sign off, or afterwards if they're not in there. So just to summarize what I've been talking about today, so how to stop nagging your child about revision and homework. So it's about setting expectations, routines and boundaries, and really establishing what work needs to be done. So what is it right to ask your child to be done? And then really think about how you are going to reward your child for sticking to that, and then being really strong about like enforcing it while it's becoming more of a habit and a routine for your child. Because if it's a big change for them having these structures and routines in place, then and expectations, then they're probably going to struggle with it to begin with. But just sit down with them, explain the reasons, explain that you don't want to nag them anymore, explain that this is the way to be successful and get things done, and then set out this clear sequence of events when they're at home in the evening. So homework first, revision second, and then any rewards or relaxation that they want to have at the end of the day. So I really hope you found this video helpful and useful, and if you do have any questions, then please let me know, and I really hope to see you inside the Extraordinaries Club so I can support you even more effectively with these challenges. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.